We're live. I'm just waiting for a few friends to come on, and so that we will not be talking to just ourselves. Even though this video is going to remain, and some people might join in much later. Good evening. I don't have a microphone here. I don't have an external microphone. So if you can hear me, just say something. Say hello. Write comments. Good evening, everyone. Especially Barcelona fans. I hope you are getting over the heartbreak of last night. I hate to talk about this, but I just can't help myself. I can't. So, good evening, Folarunsho Adisa. Good evening, everybody. If you can hear me, please say something, write something, so that we know that we are not speaking into the air. Just is cool, just is beautiful. You can hear me loud and clear.
Good.
So, good evening, Ibikunle. Good evening. Thank you for joining us. I don't intend to take so much of our time, so I'm going to start talking with Professor Kent Hodge right about now. I'm in Jos, and I've not been here the last time I was here was 2016, 4 years ago. And the place where I am at is called Wurin Al-Heri. Wurin Al-Heri. Al-Heri means grace.
Yeah, or kindness.
Or kindness.
Place of kindness.
Place of kindness. The place is called a place of kindness. A place is like a heaven. A place where people can be relieved of life's issues. And the person that has been behind it has been in Nigeria for over 30 years.
86.
86.
So it's what,
34 years. He's been in Nigeria for the past 34 years. And I got to know, I've talked about him a couple of times on Facebook, but we've never done a live interaction together before. I've talked about all the work he's done with children from communities that have been ravaged by Boko Haram. Most of you know my stance on religion, but what continues to draw me and inspire me and keep me in awe of the work that Professor Kent does, with his beautiful wife, by the way, is the fact that he goes beyond the religious borders. He embodies what Christ has taught us in the gospel. He embodies what kindness, what compassion, what love is all about, and it goes beyond religious boundaries. He doesn't care if you're a Christian, he doesn't care if you're a Muslim, he doesn't care if you do not even believe in God. But he shows you how much God's love illuminates the darkness in our lives, because all of us have times, patches, and seasons when we are in the dark in every aspect, one area of our lives or the other. But he shines that light, and he makes it so easy. I don't know how he does it. So we are going to be talking about that and a number of issues. But first, Prof, good evening.
Hi, Petra. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So when I came in 2016 and I talked with the children in Wurin Al-Heri, there were about how many children?
I think we probably had about over 100 then. Not sure exactly how many, but we've grown a bit since then. We also have 100 in another home in Bugladla. Yeah. So, but at the moment we have about almost 200 here now.
Almost 200 here now. And what you do is you don't just take these children off from, most of them are orphaned by Boko Haram's terrorism, but also they have families. So I want you to walk us through that. It's not like you just go there and say, oh, you're an orphan, you kick them off the streets, and then this is not an orphanage, you were telling me.
Yeah, so we have a lot of pastors that work in, this is when the Boko Haram was really the high crisis time a few years ago. And we have a lot of pastors in Adorno State and Borno State. And so where these towns were really ravaged and homes destroyed, schools destroyed. And so we want to, yes, a lot of them have witnessed terrible things. A lot of these children have lost families. But also we want to help the families recover. So these children often have extended families, but they're going through such times of crisis that we're offering a help for them to recover. So we can take some of their children here, put them through school, while these communities are rebuilt and strengthened again. So we retain these strong family connections. Yeah.
Somebody has just asked a question on what we were talking about a moment ago, something you are very passionate about. He's asking about peace. You said you were going to talk about the Fulani issue, you were going to talk about herdsmen, you were going to talk about crisis in the Northeast, and how peace-building efforts can be sustained upon, the kind that you do here, but also now scaled up on community level, on state level. Somebody is asking, apart from helping victims, how can the crisis in the Northeast be permanently addressed? I think the publicity to ensue for peace is very low, which is what you are very passionate about. So it gives me joy that somebody is talking about this.
Yes.
We need an aggressive campaign for peace and peaceful coexistence. My regards to Prof. May God keep crowning his efforts with success.
Thank you.
As for me, I can't travel to Jos or Northeast for now, sadly.
Thank you very much. It's good. It's been a real journey for me in peace. It's a long one. There are a lot of things that we've been learning, still learning. Just really getting started after even a few years. But initially I could see in 2010 we had a community outbreak of violence. It was before Boko Haram hit Jos. It was Muslim youth, Christian youth struggling against each other, and I could see then that it was youth driven. Also I could see my own fault, that we were not connected with our Muslim neighbours. We stood at a distance. That was right through our communities. We saw that in the Gospels, that's how the Jews and the Samaritans were. So the Gospels came to life to me, and Jesus' whole message was in this same situation. I saw Jesus' message on the social aspects, not just the spiritual ones or the religious ones. But so we called the Muslim elders after this crisis settled down, and we first apologised for the way we had treated them, and we said that we hadn't done what Jesus said. One of them dies or gets married, and we don't participate with joy or sadness with them as a community. And we said we want to do that from now on. We want to be neighbours together.
That was 10 years ago.
Yeah, and that started wonderful relationships. Also, one of our leaders here, Reverend Gabriel, saved the life of a man, a Muslim elder. People came to kill him, and he hid him in his house, risking his own life. And that, again, has opened up great doors. We've had fantastic relationships that are built. So that was the beginning, just realising that we have to build those bridges. And also, when there's a lot of hurt, when Boko Haram hit, there's been so much hurt. We saw that the hurt was on both sides, Christian and Muslim, widows and orphans. And that when we help those hurting and reach out with compassion, whoever they are, that really deals with some of the sense of injustice and business in our hearts, because we're not showing partiality. And that's how we rebuild community, by building it together. And so we want our future to be different from the past, that we build together, because we're all suffering. We all point the finger at the other, but we're really doing it to each other. We're all suffering. So we need to rebuild together, rebuilding those bridges of trust.
Okay, so you have said that the first thing that you did was to say, we are sorry, we have not done what Jesus did, we have not been open, we have not felicitated with you when you were celebrating, we have not mourned with you when you were distressed. That's good. But another thing that you have said which struck is that we are all hurting. Even though we point accusing fingers at each other, the other person is saying you're at fault, the other person is saying, oh no, it's your fault. We are all hurting. And so we need to do more to heal together. At your level, as Christian Faith Institute and ministries, you have been doing that. But have you thought of a collaboration with the state government, for instance, Plateau state government, to say we need to talk more about peace-building efforts, we need to talk more about ensuring that this campaign for peaceful coexistence starts from the communities and then it builds up? Has there been such collaborations? Are you open to it? Have you tried it? What's the journey?
I think we're open to it. Like you said, we're very much concentrated on the community level, so the grassroots level, and we're wanting to build that as a model, so that, and also because we're a Bible training institute as well, And not only Bible college, but we have vocational college here. We have Muslims and Christians. We have about, I think, 6 or 7 computer centres which we open in hotspots and bring Muslim and Christian people together. So in all of and we teach ethics, this sort of peace-building principles in all of these areas. So we're spreading it at the grassroots and bringing people together to make these relationships and to become a model, especially as our Bible school students. They come from all states. They go back and they take this peace built. The children of God are peacemakers. So they take that back wherever they start churches and spread that. And I believe that the governor of this state, Plateau State, has that sense of bringing people together. And so in the sense that we do build, on a similar page, we're walking on a similar page, but we haven't collaborated. And in a sense that's good because it shows that we're doing these things both out of our own conviction.
True, in a sense that's good, but aggressive campaign for peace in our communities is very important, and perhaps that's something that we could be talking about off camera to ensure that, because however much we help the victims, however much we take these children out of ravished communities, because you're doing that in Southern Kaduna, children from Southern Kaduna as well of recent.
Yes.
You have just brought in some children to give them, a home and hope. Yes. So, what has been the response like of Christian groups in Kaduna? Have you had any collaboration with them? Have you had discussions with them? Both you work with both the Christian groups and the Muslim groups. Have you tried to mediate between them? Is there something like that on the horizon?
Well, there is here where we are at Warren Alheri, because we have Muslim and Christian communities all around us and in Bukaru, and so we've collaborated a lot between them, just as reaching out to both, and it's good too because being outside, I don't carry the baggage, so to speak, so you can come together very well. So like we have an agricultural cooperative here which has Fulani King and Christian elder from different communities sitting together on the board. So they literally beat their swords into plowshares. They're now farming together and helping widows and everything. So there's a lot of collaboration there, which we're always working on. So in Southern Kaduna we have graduates out there from our Bible college. They're the ones initially who asked us to come out and see how we could support children. And we have staff that work in those areas. So we're connected through a lot of our staff families.
Okay. I was going to ask something. Okay, so the last time I came here, you were showing me the church, which is an interesting arrangement. Like, guys, let me tell you about the church. There is a church here. Maybe tomorrow I'm going to do a video from the church. When it's time for service, it's a church. During the week, sometimes it's a community hall where elderly women and men from around this place come together. Muslims, Christians, animists, they come together, meet, like a community center where people talk about life generally. And here in the compound, you have vocational center for Bible students, because Professor Kent does not believe that pastors need to harass their congregants for tithes. He says, do not manipulate people into paying tithes, bringing offerings, but that there is a reason why some pastors do that, because that's primarily where they get their own deliberate from. So they have to preach, they have to manipulate, they have to harass sometimes. So what he does is, once you're a Bible student, a student of the Bible Institute, you have to go through vocational training, welding, a lot goes on here, so that as a pastor, you must have something that you do which earns you money. Your calling is to pastor a flock, but your means of livelihood should not be pastor no be job, so to speak. So what he does here with his staff and the entire ministry is, they have the vocational training center, they have the computer training center institute, and Muslims and Christians come there learn vocation, learn how to use the computer system. And yesterday you were telling me about the land when we were talking about environmental justice. You were telling me how we have become so dependent on fertilizers, on inorganic products, and meanwhile we've deviated from the natural order. So for 2 months you brought in cattle to come and just manure the place.
Yes.
And then gave life back to the soil. Did they destroy the farms, the cattle? How were you able to control? Was there farming in progress at the time, or was the land just fallow?
Well, we found out that with relationships with our local Fulani, that we don't have problems with cattle. The cattle are quite disciplined. They're not quite emotional creatures, and they walk where you tell them to walk. And when you get along well with the Fulani boys, and a lot of them are just boys, they're young, and they can do immature things like anyone can. And when you treat them like normal neighbours and get through immature and repair problems and work together with the Fulani elders, people are very good, and they don't spoil our farms at all. But we brought the cattle in during dry season, so we didn't have farms. And they just slept on our land every night for 2 months. During the day they went out looking pasture, came back and slept. They urinated everywhere, manured everywhere. It's just like gold. I mean, and it is gold. And they didn't charge us anything. We got truckloads, I'm telling you, lots, I don't know how many, score, 20, 40 truckloads of, maybe 20 truckloads of manure that we could gather up. All the rest went into the ground and the urine. It's worth a lot of money, and they never asked us anything for it. Last year, this land was rubbish. We planted corn and got nothing from it. This year, our costs have come down to be 75% lower, and our product has gone up at least 30 times, just in 1 year of having the cattle for 2 months. The land, the soil has been, we now have mushrooms growing up. The soil's totally changed, and so what we need, when we've depended on chemical fertilizers, it's isolated us from other people, because we now say, okay, we can be gods unto ourselves, we don't need other people, we don't need this diversification, this interrelationships with other ethnicities. We can do it. And eventually these chemical fertilizers poison our soils and kill off the microbial life, the fungal life in the soils become hard and dense, water rushes off the top, causing erosion, spoiling our fresh waters. These are major issues, and when our soils get depleted, eventually our fertility goes down. We find out in northern Nigeria we're competing for agricultural resources, farms, grasses for cattle, and we found out that this is one of the sort of underground issues of peace, that we have to rebuild our soils like how people used to farm here before these chemicals came. They integrated relationships between animal farming, crop farming, and these things benefit. So there's a mutual benefit there that builds our, agriculture, restores our ecosystems, and we have to have rejuvenated ecosystems, and it's essential to peace. And once we start to realise that, initially, people, you can't bring Fulanis onto the land, and so on. But now people are asking, what's our magic? The change has been phenomenal. The great thing is the change in relationships as well. That we now, how can we help each other? If we get corn, we cut it, we take it to the Fulani. We look, how can we help? We had a seminar, global Zoom seminar here with veterinaries. We brought Fulani people in, we brought farmers in. We all sat down together, had a global Zoom with vets, with qualified people around the world. And the Fulani people said, look, you treated us as equals. We're not used to that. And so it's lovely experiences, and always challenges in these sorts of things.
True.
And that's why people want to be alone. So they don't have to face the challenges, but we can't do that. We've got to pass a better world on to our children. We have to face these challenges, environmental challenges. We've got to rebuild our environment. This place used to be a forest. It's got to be rebuilt. Rebuild our relationships, bring peace and fertility to the next generation. We have to work on that.
We have to work on that. The children who are here, they are schooling, they are living like children should live. Have you ever, thinking of the experiences that they have had to live with in the past. What do you think of mental health and discussing the issues, mental health issues, with especially PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder? Did you have to talk about it with experts with them? Is there any experience of any of them having challenges forgetting the past, not forgetting, but forgetting the trauma of the past?
Yeah,
Are they
recovering.
integrating well into their present and going into the future with hope?
Well, when we took in about 85 children at once from born in the area in one day, and they were quiet for quite a while. You couldn't hear a lot of noise from down where they were staying. Like you said, the main church chapel building, it's a home for the children. They live there during that's where their bedrooms are. So, but over some time, they began to become a lot noisier, a lot happier. You could see that was going on in their lives. But we work closely with Josh South Social Services, and so we connect in with professionals from there, and we have had professionals out trauma counselling. When they first came, we rang a bell and said food was ready, and it scared people because of the metal sound. So we had to stop that. That we weren't expecting because we didn't know that. But there's a lot of love. I mean, the team here, we have a strong team, and they love them and help them a lot. So you can see now they're happy. They're a noisy, well-behaved bunch.
That's good. Is the same thing? Are you witnessing the same experience with the kids that have just come from Kaduna?
Yes, I'm sure that there would be. I haven't got all the feedback on that yet. It was just earlier this last week that they came in, and so there's a lot of processing as new people come in, new children come in. We first process through their health. We have a medical centre here on our site, so each of them see the doctor. We assess all of their health, and we get to know them individually. So that we're going through that at the moment. So I haven't got the feedback on that yet.
Okay, so Prof, you do a lot of work here, but it's not out there. It's not out there in the sense that you don't like talking about it. I remember the first time that I talked about the work that you do, Pastor Gabe said to me, he doesn't like to talk about it. He doesn't like publicity. And I said, oh, well, I mean, we can't have people doing such great work and the society not knowing about it, because people need to learn. People need to know that Christianity is an action, it's a way of life, like they say, but it's become more of a rhetoric, so to speak, that there are still people who live the way Christ asked us to live. There are people who live the way Christ lived while he was on earth. So why are you so shy of publicity? Why are you shy of putting out the good? Sometimes people say, oh, I don't want to be the one talking about the things that I have done. But I mean, we need to talk about these things. Why are you so shy of publicity?
I've always felt it safer to fly under the radar. So we just like to get on with what we're doing and trust in God and build slowly. So, so just my natural character. So that's why you've come here, to help us, and we appreciate that, all the way from Lagos, very much.
It's important.
You've been encouraging to us because you imbibe all the same values, and that's always helped us.
Thank you. So let's go back to the very beginning. When you came from Australia to Nigeria, was there any, I'm talking like a sociologist now, was there a culture shock? Did you feel the need to go back? Did you feel, oh, I could live here for the rest of my life? How has the journey been?
Oh, it's a mixture, I think. You come, you always miss your place, your family, you like to go back. And so we've always liked to go back, but not for long. We get itchy-footed very quickly when we go back and want to return here, because this is where we really enjoy what we're doing very much. So I think our culture shock's mainly been stronger when we go back. We can't settle back in to where we are. That's always been more difficult to deal with, so we're always very happy. It's been a learning period too over the years, seeing things through another culture, maybe another worldview, seeing how the world why it is the way it is, the injustices, these sorts of things. It's slowly dawned on me over the years, and so now I think we're a bit more. Our message is a little bit more towards where these injustices come from on a global level, and I'm trying to, just like we reached out to our Muslim neighbours about our own faults, I'm trying to get that message out into our Western countries as well.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. There definitely will be more questions or engagement. Prof, when they come, I'm going to mention you on the posts for any question that could come later. Now, support. How do you get support from government or individuals within the country?
No, we don't. We have recently, yes, from the Federal Minister of Women's Affairs, Her Excellency Pauline Talon in Abuja, and she's a number of times she said she will reach out to us. She's always has. She's always done what she has said, and that's been encouraging to her. She also is aware of the children just came from Kaduna this week and said she was going to reach out to us and support. So we've had that. That's the only one. We've had recently, and so we've only started working on this recently. I think on a local level, we've started Chen. Reverend Gabriel and others here have started a strong team within our ministry. Chen is reaching out to Nigerian people to help support out these same children in their school education, the education part of what they're doing, school fees, uniforms, books, all that sort of thing. We also recently started Kent Foundation. That's just getting off the ground now to raise funds for the Bible College, because that's something that we've left to last in building because it's not as easy to get support for.
Sure.
But we really want to get, the Bible College is to get young leaders in, train them in really what Jesus taught in this community building. Because, we've taught a lot about, salvation, just all basically a private, individual thing, so I can be blessed and I can go to heaven when I die. But that isn't really what the Bible's teaching. It's more of a community building, community restoration issue. Community means neighbours, it means loving our enemies, it means restoration of relationships, it's environmental. It's bringing heaven and earth together for a new heavens and a new earth, which is a new creation. So it's a restoration of our whole creation. So that's what we want.
The last time I was here, the hospital wasn't here, the clinic.
Yeah.
Now on the wall, just in front of the clinic, is no one shall be denied basic health care. Does that mean people around the community access healthcare here?
Yes, they do. And so, we're right between Do and Basitchi. So it's the Jos South local government and the Barkin-Ladi local government. And there is really not, as you go out into Barkin-Ladi, there's not a lot of options. A lot of village areas where there's not a lot of medical services. And so we want to reach out. It's early days, but we have people coming from there, but we're not accessing right into those communities as much as we want to. So we're building a larger hospital at the moment, larger than
this.
A two-story one, two level one. So we're working on that at the moment to get doctors that have this missionary, where everything's career-based, but professional-based, but to get these sort of service-orientated, whether we're lawyers. We have a legal aid team here that are very well professional lawyers reaching out to help those who can't access legal support because they're not financially able. So to get, whether it's law or medicine, to be service orientated, it's not easy because we all have our needs, our families, we need our careers, but also to serve those who can't access it. That's what we're wanting to do. And so, yes, people do come to the hospital here every day, Muslims and Christians. Again, it's drawing them together, which is what we love. And they are accessing free medical care. They pay for their medicines, which we pass on as cheaply as we can, unless they can't. And then we have a system whereby we can support them.
But the consultation is carried out by this team of professionals that you have put together to render service free of charge.
Yes.
So you're giving affordable, sometimes free and
Yes.
of course accessible healthcare.
Even surgeries, we have doctors that come in and offer their services.
Wow. Thank you very much,
Thank
Prof, for all that you do. We are going to. You said this is the first time you're doing a Facebook Live?
Like, yes, such.
I think I should come to just often. I think I should come to just often. Is there a question there? I think I should come to just often to see how we can do more of this.
Right.
This kind of message needs to go out more. This kind of message that talks about Christianity as a vocation, as something that you do with passion and with in service, a service to other people, irrespective of their religious affiliations, is something that message really needs to go to as many people as possible. And I do hope that those who have joined us this evening and who will come across this video much later would be able to and willing to. Everybody is able to when they are willing to. Will be willing to carry on the message of hope, the message of grace, the message of salvation, the message of kindness and compassion that you embody, and which is what the legacy that Jesus is giving to his disciples and to the world at large. Because if we are kinder, then the world will be better.
Yeah.
If we are kinder to one another, we would have a better world. So hopefully we would be able to do more to put the message out there. Thank you very much for joining me.
Thank you very much for coming. Thank you everyone for being there.
Thank you.
Look forward to hearing from you.
All right. Bye, yeah.
Bye.
Have a nice weekend.